beautiful, wonderful day. Make sure it is productive. Even if you are relaxing at home today, make sure that it is a productive day. Make sure you get your self-care in. Straighten up, organize. Take the time to go through your things and see what needs to be kept and what needs to be thrown out. Keep good, positive energy flowing in your life and in your homes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below if you're so motivated to do so. This is Wonders of a Black Woman Live. I had a few things on my mind, a few things that have concerned me lately. I just wanted to hop on live and just share my thoughts. One of the things I wanted to discuss was what's going on with the DNC wanting to kick David Hogg out. David Hogg, I give him an A+ for guts and transparency. But he wants to primary what he feels are ineffective incumbents, and I do not blame him for that. There are a lot of people in government that are ineffective. There need to be term limits. It really does. Because the Congress is supposed to reflect the average American. It really is. And the longer you're in Congress, the longer you are out of touch with the average American experience, or you're out of touch with, you're just out of touch, because you're treated differently in society as a congressperson, or as a senator, as an elected official. So, your struggles and things that you're going through is not going to be the same as the average person. And therefore, when you're voting on bills or introducing laws, you really don't have that understanding that your constituents would have. Yes, you're supposed to have meetings with your constituents and things like that, but nothing beats actual lived experience in the current moment. And I think that a lot of people are frustrated because they feel that some of these elected officials are not meeting the lived experience of the current moment. A lot of them will get on the campaign trail and talk about how they grew up in a poor working class family. They grew up in a single mother home. Well, you're not experiencing that now in today's society. What it was like 40, 50 years ago living like that is different from what it's like trying to navigate today's society without health care or without having affordable housing or whatever the issue may be. So as far as David Hogg wanting to primary incumbents, I'm with him 100% on that. The DNC needs to go on and fully kick him out, and it's only going to make him stronger, and he's just going to come back harder, and that's just what he had to experience. A lot of times they will do manipulations behind the scenes. I think that he was transparent. Give him A for that. I don't agree with his politics, with most of the stuff that he is doing and wanting to push. But, as far as Joe Biden is concerned, I think that America is witnessing evidence of the biggest threat to democracy, cover-up, and scandal that this country has ever seen. And I say that because I do not believe that his wife, who kept pushing him to run for a second term, had no idea that he was in cognitive decline and had no idea that he was having all these health issues. But yet she kept sitting on this man's back, riding his back. And I think that when people get into the seats of power, it's just an addictive drug. They just don't want to let it go. There's no way that Kamala Harris, your vice president, who you speak to on a regular basis, does not notice, hey, this guy isn't as sharp as he used to be. He's cognitively declined. You know, and for Kamala Harris, to if she knew these things, which she had to have, come on. If she knew these things, why didn't she have the guts to say, hey, this man is not well. I am going to make the moves I need to make to take over the presidency because he's not well. You know, so as far as that's concerned, she obviously isn't a black woman, because a black woman would have had the grit, the guts, and the aggression to snatch the crown. Now, what they thought that they were going to do, okay, what they thought they were going to do was ride this old man's back over to the finish line for a second term. Then they were going to cannibalize him and kick him out of office. They did not want Kamala Harris to have to work for it. They did not want her to have a primary, win that fair and square, and then win the general election. When you're not battle tested in the primary, of course you're not going to win the general election. She really has had a free ride throughout her political career. She rode, literally and figuratively, Mr. Big Willie. Well, he might be a small Willie, but I don't know if he's big or small. I don't want to know. But she rode Willie Brown, literally and figuratively, into political office in California. Okay, so his connections and things like that propped her up. Of course, the people had to go out and vote for her, but you have hit makers in the political scene. If they give you their blessing, you pretty much are you're in there. So she had Willie Brown's apparatus working for her in California. When she hit the national stage, she had to drop out of the presidential race because her numbers were so tanked. But because of her connection with Joe Biden's deceased son, Beau Biden, and Joe Biden being familiar with her, he decided to carry her. This is yet another man picking her up and carrying her with him. And everyone was so ticked off, not everyone, but a lot of people were ticked off and frustrated with Trump at the time. They thought, oh, we'll get him out and get Joe Biden in and Kamala Harris in, and it's going to bring back some normalcy, and we're going to have this historic moment, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be perfect, and everything's going to be okay. Well, things weren't okay. Were there a few good things they may have eked out during their term? Yes, but the devastating consequences that they had overall is why we have Trump back in office, where people were like, oh, bring him back, bring him back. So now you have all these people coming out with books and tell-alls and saying that, yeah, he was having these health issues. People were afraid to say anything. People were covering it up and things like that. The questions that I have is, who was signing things on his behalf? Was he aware of what he was signing? You know, what role did the doctors, White House doctors, have in covering things up. And as a healthcare professional myself, would it have been a violation of HIPAA to reveal these things? But at the same time, you know, you are running the country. You are the president of the United States. So if there are things that's going on that is inhibiting you from being able to do such a job, the White House doctor should not be coming out saying that he's okay, he's fine. So that's that. It's just a big conspiracy. Trump's administration, his Justice Department would be no good if they did not look into all of these irregularities and things that are going on during the Biden administration, because it seemed like the corruption was very high. And I even think perhaps the United Nations complaint need to be filed on behalf of the American people. Something needs to be done, because this can't happen again, where we have shadow people puppeteering someone who is holding a political office and they're not really in their right state of mind. That's why we need transparency on health issues that affect someone's cognition, and we need term limits. We really do, because anything could have happened. Anything probably did. There are a lot of things that did happen under the Biden administration that may not have been something that Joe Biden in his full normal state of mind would have gone for. So I think it was extreme elder abuse, and I think it was an extreme deception on the American people. Last thing I want to talk about is Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama. When she and her brother are doing this podcast, and at first I thought, okay, you know. Then I thought, it seems like she's just complaining all the damn time. You know, I mean, it's just like, you don't get to complain like everyone else, because you're not like everyone else. I mean, that you're complaining as if you're some poor single mother and all of this. I mean, like, give me a break. It's just such a turnoff, and it's really almost as if it's a disgrace to her legacy for her to come. Well, first of all, Michelle, I love you, honey, but the braids, you got to get a professional to do them things, girl. Please. It looks like you did it yourself while sitting in your bed watching TV. I know you got the money to get some of the baddest braiding bitches to do your hair. I'm just saying. Okay, you're gonna rock the braids, you gotta rock them right, honey. Alright. When go on these African braiding salons, they will hook you up. Okay? Do not sit there on your podcast complaining about how you had to pay for this or that, or complaining about Barack, complaining about this. What you're doing is, it's just not serving your legacy well. You know, the average American they don't want to hear you sitting around complaining as if you're just like us. You're not just like us. You have resources and access to different things that the average Black American woman doesn't have access to, that the average woman, no matter what her color is, doesn't have access to. So you sitting there complaining on your podcast and stuff like that, reminiscing on days when you were poor, complaining about this and that and all of this other stuff, how hard it is as a black woman and all of this other stuff. Nobody wants to hear that shit, honey. People want to know how people in your position is going to help people who aren't in your position. Then you talk about how you know, you're worried at night about people being deported and being taken from their family. Well, were you worried about that when your husband was doing it? These deportations is nothing new. Your husband deported people. Were you worried that people were being taken from their families and snatched up off the street and stuff like that? When you were when your husband was in office, when you had the ear of the acting president of the United States, what did you do to make things better for everybody out here? So don't get on your podcast talking all this shit and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, you make yourself look like a hypocrite and a fool. If someone comes and does something illegally, they are running the risk that they are going to get caught. And if they have a baby on American soil knowing that they're here illegally, they can either take the child back with them or leave them with a friend or a relative to grow up in America. I can't go rob, and really, I don't think that those children should have citizenship either. Because if I go rob the bank, I can't give the money to my children and say, just take me to jail. Okay, you take me to jail, but my kids get to keep the millions of dollars I stole from out of the bank. Oh, I came in here illegally, dropped a bunch of kids, but I shouldn't have been here. I'm here illegally. I did something to break the law, but my children will benefit from my act of breaking the law. So as far as when you look at some of Barack Obama's early days, when the Democratic Party was more sane, he was talking about cutting government waste and abuse. A lot of stuff that Trump is doing is from old school, earlier, before the left got stupid policies. Securing the border. You hear a lot of moderate Democrats talking about that. Cutting the fraud, waste, and abuse. Deporting illegals. The effect that it has on the economy. The effect that it has on minority communities. The Democrats were talking about all of that at one point. So Trump really has taken a page out of the old school Democratic Party playbook. But yet it's keeping Michelle up at night because she's worried that ICE is going to get somebody and deport them. And I mean, you know, with all due respect, you know, nobody wants to hear you talking about that shit. They really don't. I mean, you know, you and Barack Obama sat your asses in the White House for 8 years and did not do anything substantive, real meat and potato substantive stuff for black people. Absolutely nothing. So, I mean, you're on your podcast talking about how you're afraid that somebody is going to be deported. You certainly weren't saying that when you were lying next to your husband while you guys were in the White House. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm almost where I'm going. I hope you all have a blessed, beautiful, wonderful day. Do not let anything get you down. Make sure you take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself and love yourself, it's going to be kind of hard for you to truly show love to anyone else. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below if you're so motivated to do so. This is Wonders of a Black Woman. Peace.